Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
An amazing event happened on planet Earth in the beautiful city of Beijing, China. The cosmic ray technology was shown for the first time to the public by the financial arm of Keshe Foundation, the American Mark Ray Corporation, which is traded on the US stock exchange. Mr. Keshe himself went to China to show creation of materials from the magnetic fields by using obsolete technology, or what we call rotating gas reactors with electric motors. He's using these old reactors as a starting point for humanity to slowly accept the evolution of science and technology. For 3 days straight, the reactors were run and shown live on Zoom, so that anybody from around the world who wanted to could come in and see. Black particles like dust start appearing on the white paper sheets around the reactors. These particles are being created through the reactors and the fields of the universe and the inertia of our planet. They are not coming from the room. There were 4 sets of pairs of reactors with red and green gases spinning on them. We were told they were not CH3 and CuO, but something else. They were set up in a star formation on tables inside the front windows of the Intercontinental Hotel. Anybody passed on the street could see them. White papers and spoons were spread around the reactors to catch the materials being formed from the fields. Some knowledge seekers were able to capture on video when black specks suddenly appeared on the paper, like out of thin air. It was very interesting to witness when energy first appears in the matter state. As time went on and the fields built up and changed strength, the specks formed into bigger pieces and some elongated, and some changed color into gold. This is the first time the public has been able to freely witness the creation of matter from energy. At the end of 3 days, Mr. Keshe collected more particles and showed everyone attending. An interesting thing occurred. When he touched the black dust on the paper with his finger, it turned gold. He said it interacted with the fields of the inertia of the earth through his finger. This phenomenon was written about in ancient times when the Greek god Midas touched things and it was said they turned to gold. What we witness here is how everything in the universe is created, from ourselves to the planets and even cancer.
Did you know that?
And welcome all to the Keshe American Knowledge Team. I have a cat in my back here. wants to be a co-host, I guess. Haven't seen the cat all day. And she just vomited on the floor, which I had to clean up. And then now she's meowing to be part. But again, we're having respect for all created beings. This is part of the peaceful dimension that we're entering into of the soul of the man. So welcome each and all. Again, the knowledge is the same in this event, and China is much more revolutionary than I think we can imagine. We talk about creating waves with emotion. Well, I think this was a huge wave that Mr. Keshe has created in the public domain, first time ever seen. And of course, you can apply the same technology. You can create anything out of fields. It could be copper, it could be cotton, it could even be precious oil that we fight and war about, and so on. So this is one of the ways through material enhancement, creation out of the fields, that we're learning more and more the process of creation and what effects it'll have on mankind. But there's so many things to share. There's the One Nation Network, there's the upgraded UBISOs coming in, there's the satellite souls will be activated, there's a birthday of Mitra, which we just celebrated, the daughter of Mitra, and then Mitra's birthday will be coming up and sort of coordinating with the arrival of the 3I. And again, I think what Mr. Keshe is staging, we haven't imagined, but maybe some will by the 19th are in there, where we sort of interact in this energy dimension. And one of the knowledge seekers was saying she had a flash of a dog while she was awake, her dog actually, her beloved dog who passed recently. So again, these things are not beyond our imagination, but they certainly are beyond the explanation of modern day science. So as he said, gradually, slowly, the knowledge is coming in. This is, as he made that demonstration in Beijing, this is part of the sort of changing the structure in a way, gradually, slowly, collectively in the rest. And we see how all of the devices, and not even devices of the Keshe Foundation, but it seems even universal community coordinating, moving in, more interactions in the coming time. So we have a lot to look forward to. As he said, this is just the beginning, and we can't even imagine what's built into some of these systems. We're just sort of getting a general overview, but it is quite powerful. And of course, it's made to stop the soul of the man going out into space and killing. If you can imagine this is happening in the universe, it's hard to imagine. But apparently this is one of the issues in the universe, even though it's a small issue, they're addressing it rather fully, let's say, and applying certain fields and certain energies that will allow us to join a much more peaceful structure. And even the structure in the universe, this beginning of the daughter of Mitra's birthday, which the birth has happened some years ago, but we have to wait for the maturity. This is going to have a major impact, not only on planet Earth, but across the universe, that all the races become equal. Probably there's some envy, as we understand. We've been envious of certain ones, and other ones could be envious, as he said, of the other systems that are perhaps more advanced than 3I. They look at them as sort of a donkey traveling. And we know when we see people on donkeys, we, in many parts of the world, we look at that as being quite backward. But again, it's just an amazing amount of knowledge. And if anyone would like to say anything before we read the World Peace Treaty, because this is what it's all about, creating a peaceful man out of the man, changing the fields, the DNA, and elevating the soul. As he said, a new dimension in the strength of the soul will appear. And Mosfek, you may like to add something. I know you only have a brief time with us in the physicality. You have other obligations, but please.
Yeah, you mentioned the gold making in China making waves, and so I've been talking a little bit in One Nation, One Planet, One Race about the structure of material, and these are based on some work that was done in 69, I think, around that. But those were like photographs of various metals, and using field ion microscopy. And those photographs actually shows how a structure within how the molecules are arranged, and it's very symmetric and very interesting. And it has wave patterns in there. So, I don't want to call you prophet, but that statement was prophetic of what I was thinking about talking.
Yeah,
Waves.
it's just
Go.
amazing. We're all gaining knowledge or insight, but of course, we want to stay humble, as he indicated. Try not to become arrogant with the power you understand and possess. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'll fall into the same path as the church and the mosque. So, as I heard somebody say yesterday, when they investigate a subject, they always realize or say to themselves, there's so much more about this subject to understand, and it goes deeper. And I think this is one of the points Mr. Keshe has been sort of showing us in a way.
So basically the idea is that how from field, which is essentially uh, everything is DC and plasma. So how do we get to AC, or how do we get to wave? AC is essentially wave. And
Well,
so
aren't we that wave generator in a way? Isn't this what Mr. Keshe was saying? We have that communication ability or the transmutation ability or other things that just needs to be supported and used more frequently?
it's Mr. Keshe talks about this aspect of generating two emotions, hot and cold, happiness and sorrow together. One is magnetical, one is gravitational. So essentially, you have to create a condition of pressure buildup and pressure release in the field. And then when you increase the pressure in the field, it essentially, you're storing energy, or you're building up field pressure, or you're storing, in another terminology, potential energy. And then once you release it, it becomes kinetic energy or current.
Yes,
So
he's indicated we haven't even understood the simplest about our own structure and our own creation.
and the simplest thing is what I'm talking about these days in One Nation, One Planet, One Race. I do talk about it more sometimes in Rick's plasma reaction group, but it's and in the end, what happens is that it creates a very interesting lace-like structure, which has been photographed using field ion microscopy. And those are published, and the book is no longer in publication, but you can still get to the information. So, and using that, I'm starting at the level of like, how do we generate the wave pattern? And then once you have the basic wave, the sinusoid, and then how you combine sinusoids and other waves to create standing wave. And,
So you're developing a formula? Could you put it in the chat for us?
Very basic understanding. Once you have a wave emanating from some source, and if you put a boundary, there is a reflection. And once there is a reflection of the wave, the reflecting wave can cancel the original wave, or it can support it and it can sustain it. And that's what's called, it is in our current sign, a standing wave. So it holds the pattern, it doesn't disappear, much like our physical world. Once you create once you create a wave, then it becomes, and you can sustain there are other reflections, and then you form like hexagonal structure and things like that. And then once you waves after waves, essentially waves of different attributes, and once you compose them together, you have your gold, you have your iron, and all other things.
Yeah, he used that example of the ocean and the shore, the beach, right?
Yeah,
Or the
the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going into a little more detail using some diagrams I have from these photographs that were taken. None of the scientists looked at it because they don't understand any of these things at all, because that's why they didn't go into it. But now that we understand it, and we can actually work out how iron gets magnetized on this planet by just looking at the iron structure. Iron has a hexagonal pattern, and there are triangular channels within these hexagonal patterns. It's fascinating. But anyway, I'm just kind of giving you a Cliff Notes version of this, and I'm slowly talking about it in more details in One Nation, One Planet.
Yes, we're all learning from one another. That's why it's encouraged to share how you've been enlightened. Not what I need to do to be enlightened, but share with us how you've been enlightened. And I think this is part of the directive from the foundation, because this knowledge touches us all in a different way. I mean, first you have to get over the whole idea of just sort of accepting more and more the process of creation, which we've never understood, or the creator. And this is what part of the enlightenment, I think, is happening through the change of the fields and the teachings and the books in many different ways. But we're certainly being fed from multi directions, and a change of the field environment as well will, of course, allow this process to sort of take shape.
And this relates to something I asked Mr. Keshe about the structure within the gold. I actually asked this question in one of the Knowledge Seekers workshops about creating the structure within the gold. And his answer was he said, yes, it's different types of field pressure you have to create. I mean, I just talked a little bit about the field pressure in a short, in the form of a question. And then he said, but one of the important things to the environmental condition, various other stone structures or various other field structure around gold is important in creating the gold. And if you look at the various things in the Chinese experiment, you'll see several oxides which were causing gravitational field pressure on the around gold, and that's why gold was formed. And then Mr. Keshe said, yes, in addition to that, the emotion also matters. Emotion in the sense that we were talking about, like the happiness and the sorrow. A different set of those, which brings what you call it, that different, which helps to create different waves, essentially.
A two-way street, I think. Is that a two-way street?
Well, it's you have to have magnetical and gravitational, helping create. You have to create pressure release and pressure buildup to create waves, and that's what creates these fascinating structure, complicated structure of waves interacting with each other. But anyway, I'll just leave it at that, and we can go to the next thing.
Okay. And of course, what MOSFEC is explaining is available to all nations on this planet. It's been available for over 25 years, most likely. But the idea of the Keshe Foundation is advanced space technology in exchange for pledging your nation to peace. So these systems have been in and around. Of course, they're being developed, and they're going to be developed further. But that was Mr. Keshe's first go years and years ago, where he went to the world leaders and said, I can show the people on this planet how to feed themselves and generate their own power very inexpensively. And of course, that idea was rebuffed. So Mr. Keshe quietly continued. But it's all available in exchange for peace. And this is the whole impetus of the foundation, is to bring this planet and apparently the universe into a more peaceful condition. And it's a gift in a way. And initially, we may not get the keys to create gold out of thin air, but eventually we'll understand it. But the technology is certainly available. So this has been a big wave and a big splash. As I said, it can refer to copper, aluminum, cotton, or any of the other things you can think of that are created on this planet, if you know how to play with the magnetic fields. So there really is no more need to fight and to scrap over little pieces of land or little bit of material here and there. As he said, with the cosmic ray technology, which is found at the Mark Ray Corporation, rare earth materials will be quite not so rare in the coming time, in the very near future. So I think he gave the public in the world and those paying attention a bit of a taste of what can be done, that we can move away from warring and killing not only each other, but the rest, and then be part of this universal community. And this is why we've sort of been isolated on this planet. But now, again, this is part of, as he said, with the One Nation network, this is part of bringing freedom to the man. It's hidden within the network. So this is our World Peace Treaty, which, again, the Keshe World Peace Treaty. I don't know if anyone would like to read it, but again, it's just, we're not collecting them. You don't email them in and so on and so forth, unless you're looking for a different position within the Keshe Foundation or as a private student. But this is part of what the foundation is bringing as a new science, a new ethos, and a new language. And this is going to be the language of enlightenment, of sharing, of trying to find peace and balance in all the situations. This is part of the new soul that's being created, or the soul of the child of Mitra, which again is made out of the energies of the universe, sort of in a way, just the interaction of the fields without so much physicality, which brings a lot of mayhem. So again, you don't have to be 100% peaceful to wish to be more peaceful. I know this is how we get to the things we want, is we're not always there, but we wish we could get there. And of course, this is part of becoming more peaceful. But the energies will support this whole interaction, that it will become quite normal for you to be peaceful. And this is, of course, the way the Creator operates, and you were chosen to operate in the same way across the universe. Would anyone like to read the World Peace Treaty, or anything else they'd like to add before we read the World Peace Treaty? Again, between you and your soul, a pen is not necessary. As we know, when you go into the universal dimension, you'll probably never see anything written, but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. So World Peace Treaty, you can find it on any search engine. Share it, display it, encourage others that we can become peaceful. And as he said, what has been promised is being delivered. And as man usually does, he looks for the outcome, but Mr. Keshe indicated, I'm looking for the onset. And of course, the process has already happened, but it's just going to be enhanced and deepened more and more gradually, as much as probably we can absorb. Some may become more peaceful than others initially, but we'll all get there, hopefully. So, a World Peace Treaty, anyone want to read it? Again, you don't have to be an angel to read the Peace Treaty. You just want to be more peaceful, or move closer to the Creator, if you want to put it that way, rather than further away. So we have this sort of a problem within our structure in the way the fields just came together here, leaving us short, and we found the solution by taking others' energies, which again is not accepted in the universal community. We exchange fields rather than consume their physicality. So we, as citizens of the earth from this moment on, accept to lay down all tools of aggression and war. We shall never think about getting involved or incite war, or develop or use any tools of war on this planet or in space. And to this we all agree and swear with our, and you can delete as appropriate, with our nation, with our territory, with our council, with our religion, with our city, with our town, with our body, and with our souls. Simply put your name, signature, position on behalf of, again, and then have it witnessed. And you've just created a reactor. Well, you could create the reactor without signing anything, But I think this is, again, an interaction of fields, you wishing to be more peaceful and the universe wishing you also to be more peaceful. And you see the stronger feeds the weaker, and this process happens. And again, it all comes through your desire to want that. That's where you create that wave, as I'm seeing it, right within your own structure. And again, sometimes these things don't happen like the way you turn on and off a light. It's a process, it's a maturity, and we're all growing into the knowledge at different speeds and different strengths. And the way you understand it, as I understand it, I don't mean you understanding the way I understand it. I mean the way you understand it is just right for you at your position, wherever you are. And of course, that position is dynamic. You're always adding to the knowledge. Or the soul, even if the physicality isn't aware, the soul is becoming matured to other understandings, even to the point where, as he mentioned in the last or the workshop before that, that some of the teaching you can't use now, but in 100 years or in 1,000 years, you'll reflect back on it and remember what was said and be able to apply it at that point. So this is much, much deeper transfer of knowledge than we're even being aware. We think it's all for the here and now, but it's even for your future dimension of creation, let's say. Anyone want to make a comment? But this will become quite popular. Peace is going to be the part of the, and again, what we see around the world right now is quite far from it. But as we know, as you put systems together, the transmutation starts to happen. And we see this with the CO2 box or the zinc box or one of the other transmutations of, let's say, energies into what appears to be a nano and appears as a solid in the matter state. So we're learning about the transmutation. I know it was mentioned before we started how the planets progress inward towards the sun. Yes, they've all come out of the sun's interaction, but slowly and slowly they march back towards their creator. And of course, as we see, when Jupiter gets in the position of Mars, it will go through a transmutation and become a more solid, firm, rocky sort of planet that way from a gas giant. So transmutation in the universe, again, the creator shows himself in trillions of different faces, all the same creator. And of course, he's showing his face in man as well. He made the man in the image of himself. So we have a lot to learn, but we did celebrate the birthday of Mitra. And of course, we'll put this in the chat. Maybe I should do that now before I don't do that. Let's just copy this. And for all of you who, again, I've never heard of Mitraism or Zoroastrianism or any of these type of earlier religions or original religions, but this is part of what Mr. Keshe was saying, where he had gone to one of these schools. But again, we're all different sort of religions, from Christian to Muslim to Jews to Zoroastrians, all sort of work together and had a very good relationship inside the school, and then they'd go to their separate schools and so on. But this was part of this understanding of this. First, I didn't understand Mitra at all. And of course, this is more or less symbolic, although the creator did create an entity to confirm he exists. But this was in a way where we celebrate the birthday of Mitra, which is the mother of the child of Mitra, will be around the 19th or 21st, where the longest night ends and then the shortest day begins, and those days just keep expanding, which he said is more symbolic, where man is coming out of a dark period and going into a more enlightened period. And this is the teaching of universal teachers to bring us along into a deeper enlightenment. But now we know with the 3i coming by every few thousand years or so, different emotions are changed through that process as well. So again, there's much more to understand in how this is all coordinated. And as he said, were we seeded by perhaps something like a 3i in the last workshop? And he said, most probably yes. But this new daughter, as he said, I'm just here to rough things out, sort of brush brush you up, but Mitra will take you to the Garden of Eden. So this is part of, I think we'll hear from Andrea, and Shweta, perhaps, and then we'll go to the last 10 minutes where Mr. Keshe came in and just gave a sort of an overview. Unfortunately, he was trying to get into this session, but he said the system was blocking him for some reason. But he did give us a beautiful sort of few minutes at the end. So let's just hear, these were some of the excerpts from some of the workshops in the last few years that Andrea put together, and thank you so much for your work. And again, just sort of making us aware of what's happening in the background. And of course, a lot of people will say, show me and I'll believe, but this is something that will, it's an emotion and it's a behavior, but some of that emotion and behavior will actually transmute into physical entities, which he said in the future he'll explain how to recognize these children of Mitra by their behavior, by how they talk, by how they carry themselves, and so on and so forth. And it was beautiful that Mr. Keshe said, I'm just here just to be as a servant, to see it through, but Mitra will definitely bring you home. So again, a lot of surprises to come. And as he said, we can't even think of the possibilities that are built into this network. So let's just celebrate together. And this will be a holiday, apparently, when humanity realizes this will be celebrated not only on this planet, probably across the universe. So a lot happening that we're not aware of, but we're taking part in some of the first earlier sessions celebrating the daughter or the children of Mitra. It's not only one child. This energy, this behavior, this emotion will spread, and they'll be what's called children of Mitra.
We keep on teaching them, and when they mature, they start teaching us. And I think we are in that position with our Creator in respect to the emotion. This is why everything is connected to each other. It's the feedback way. It's gravitational and magnetical. What is magnetical to you is gravitational to me, because I take from what you don't need. He created us, and we feed back love to him, and we changed him. And the fruit of that is the daughter of Mitra. Soon you will understand the change, love her and respect her.
And we're just in between parts here if anyone wants to say anything. And we've actually changed the
To teach you about the interaction of the lights is my job. To teach you the ethos of the interaction of life is Mitra's daughter's job. It's you who have to wait for this manifestation. She is beautiful. She has the knowledge, but she will not teach you with the word of the man. She teaches you through the soul of the man. In the next couple of days, we come to winter solstice. We come to the birth of Mitra. But understand what that birth means with the knowledge you have today.
So just remember the birth of Mitra, the lover of the creator, is around the 21st and then 19th, somewhere in there. The daughter of Mitra, this new child, is the December 6th. And as he said, would they continue to celebrate St. Nicholas, or will we start to celebrate the daughter of Mitra and what she brings?
Then understand the process of the virgin birth. Then understand the process of resurrection. Understand how our ancestors hid the knowledge in different ways in mysticism. One day, in one of these systems, which these cannot do, we teach you. We show you systems which can lead you to the creation of the children of Mitra. which is you, with you, and it matters to be you because you need this if you become passenger of the universe. You leave this planet as a bachelor. You don't want to be traveling the universe as a bachelor for thousands of years. You want to share love, to give love, to create from that love what the Creator does. And then you understand the purpose of these new systems, which now we bring it as cosmic ray. I hope you enjoy it. I know you will enjoy it, and this is the beginning of the change. Change with the Mitra's children. Will we soon have an alternative to having children? How can we then free ourselves from the male sexual drive and be detached? Sriman Mehranji, MT Keshe. You can never be separated from that drive. It's within us to create, and it's within our Creator to create. Then why we are here? You call it a male or a female. We call the emotion of confirmation of love, which is giving, which we can give with others to survive. But with the children of Mitra, there is no condition. With the children of man, the condition is that if the mother is not there, the child dies because you have to feed it. Now we find something else to replace it. But in essence, no one can replace the love of the mother, not the breast of the mother. And that's the essence of the creation. When you have the children of Mitra.
So he's again saying that in the universe, well, he said it in other locations, but apparently civilizations interact with each other, and they don't really physically interact with each other, but on the emotional level. And apparently this is the way these new children of Mitra will be created out of the fields of the universe. Man will play a part in this creation of this sort of new soul with all the attributes of all of the best aspects of the created things since the beginning of time. So this is the new soul that's being created through the interaction of fields, and man will play a part in this as it's already happening in the universe. And a whole new creations will emerge, peaceful creations.
And when we understand these things, you can create from two energy packs, give it an environment, any creatures anywhere in the universe. There is no need for creating a virgin birth, which is a confirmation of the life in the universe. In fact, the children of the Mitra, children of the universe, are created in the womb of the universe. Children of the man are in the womb of the mother environment. They need to grow. Children.
And as he said, she does need to grow and allow this process to happen. So as you can see, there's many, many more entities involved. And just take the child of Mitra, and of course Mitra as well, the creator as well. So there's many more energies circulating and moving across this planet and across the universe, as opposed to what we can see with our physical eyes. But this is what we're learning to start to see through the eye of the soul rather than the eye of the physicality.
Of Mitra have the whole universe and universal energy and the knowledge because they have no womb. They have no containment. They create their own containment, and that's why they are such a wise people. Because we limit everything. We have from the color of our eye to our intelligence, according to what is set within the womb of the mother, and what we have later on. It's already been created. Child of Mitra is amongst us. And secondly, the many, many people will come to it because they say the light has been ignited It will enlighten the others to do. Planet Earth started with 1, then became 2, and now 8 billion, and continuously renewed. It's a cycle which we have to understand. The 6th of December is St. Nicholas Day, what we call the day of birth of the daughter of Mitra. And now, before Andreas takes over, I invite you to my little soul connection.
And maybe we'll do that during the Dome of Peace, if I can remember to do that, or somebody remind me to do that. Any comments? Again, it's totally new, not totally new, but we've heard this Mitra, the daughter of Mitra, all these things happening, but we haven't fully understand the work and what the ramifications, which apparently are going to create that wave across the universe. And as a gift from the Creator in so many ways, that all of us will be able to transit between the two dimensions of physicality and energy. So just amazing. Shall we go to the announcements or something else? As I said, Mr. Keshe mentioned the sort of the new version of the Ubisos, but he's also mentioned the One Nation Network quite a bit. The satellite souls were included, or we can listen to part of the teaching. Anyone have some suggestions? I think the announcements are important, and then we can go a little further with that, because he does explain. I had also chosen the Farvahar, which is a beautiful teaching from Mr. Keshe, but I think this is this the announcements? No, the announcements are around 109, I believe. So let's see if we can go to around 109 in this workshop and hear what Mr. Keshe is. And then, yeah, this is the 131 is the Farvar. And there's a beautiful teaching. Again, these are quite instructive of what was trying to be transferred to humanity about the thinking, speaking, and acting good. And of course, some other aspects there, how we're all married to the Creator in a way, or as Gail said, looking for a backpack. Gail, I was looking at the transcript, and apparently there's 2 backpacks. One you carry in front with all the good things, and the other backpack is the sort of bad things you carry on your back. So again, it's quite an amazing teaching. But let's go back to 109, and let's hear what is being announced within the Keshe Foundation. And of course, there is a Keshe Foundation store. As we know, I'll just bring it up briefly. If I have it here in my, unless I deleted it. No, it's here. And of course, when you hear him mention the Ubisos, the portable Ubisos, this is what it was first built as, and it's still in the store, and it's still in stock, and it looks like the offer is $10 million at this point. So this is changed already into a portable unit, but now an enhanced version is coming out, which will allow some new innovations, and it's much more powerful. But this is the Keshe Foundation store. And of course, if you're an artisan, you can write to info@Keshe Foundation. You may be making little things or even big things. And if you'd like to expand your markets, I guess, you can write to the Keshe Foundation and see if your product would fit within the structure and if it could be marketed and carried on multiple websites from Brazil to China, from Africa to the United States. So you'll have a huge exposure, and you'll be sort of incorporating the Keshe plasma technology with your artisanry. But of course, the technology that you use from the Keshe Foundation will remain in a, you cannot disclose that. but certainly you can expand your business and become quite successful through the knowledge of what the Keshe Foundation has done internationally in marketing. So this is how this store will grow into. Right now it's probably 3 digits, lower 3-digit numbers, but it will grow into the 5 and perhaps even 6-digit numbers in the future, because getting 1,000 or 10,000 artisans out of 10 billion people is quite easy to do, especially as the technologies, more and more people see, as we saw with the artists in the paintings, where they had quite a dynamic effect. And of course, here we're seeing the soap dishes and soaps in a way. So any sort of product that you may be involved in can be applied here if it's accepted by the foundation to actually embed some of the, and of course you'd receive the authentication of your product being labeled as certified from the Keshe Foundation. So this has a lot of implication and application in the coming time. And this is how the store will grow. And actually the store is moving into this website called Spotify, which apparently there's many offers from different companies on here. It's not as big as Amazon or let's say Alibaba or one of the other ones, but it allows you to tailor what you're marketing is not just as they do on Amazon, just display your products, but sort of give a taste of what you're working on and design your own website and offer it. You'll have to sign up for this, but this is where, whether they'll keep both stores open, it's a very good possibility. And as Mr. Keshe said, accessory products will be coming out of the store. So here's our store now. Some of the products may not be in stock, some may be in stock. You'll have to check individually. But just looking through this is almost like looking through the Montgomery Awards catalog, where they used to send out this 3-inch book. Just to, if you've never been exposed to any of these sort of products, you can just sort of click on one of these images and read a brief description about what the idea is or what is sort of put in these units. And again, none of these are tampered with or tried to copy, because the soul will actually go out of them, or the energies put in them if they're tampered with. So you don't want to open them up and play. And of course, this is the One Nation Network, which he's consistently, and we're all moving in that direction. And it's all connected together. If we can kind of see this, we have a Keshe coin, we have a One Nation Network, which teachings, and then that One Nation Network will be integrated into an energy dimension. And I think this is what he was talking about the knowledge seeker, seeing the dog and so on, that you have a 3D experience while you're completely awake, let's say, in this dimension of magnetic fields. This is part of it. And of course, getting answers to questions. I think he even said that the teachings of the Keshe Foundation now are up to 619 3-hour or so programs. Some are more, some are less. These teachings would be embedded in the soul of the man through this. Again, these are beyond the imagination of what we think is even possible. But we will see as we move along this sort of path. Okay, so let's, if we can, we'll hear some of the announcements. They might be about 10 or 12 minutes or more, but it just sort of, this is the coach in a way. He's the manager of what we're doing, and we want to get on the same sort of track. Even if you don't buy anything out of the store, you want to understand in a way the direction the Keshe Foundation is moving at the moment. But we know the foundation is quite versatile and can spin slowly or spin very quickly depending on what's needed.
Okay, let me get that image up here.
Okay, we need to go to 109. And again, we want to thank the Chinese community for putting out the hardcover books, and probably it'll be on the other ones electronically. But again, a 20-year project that's culminated in the beautiful work of the team in China. That's now, again, a gift of enlightenment in a way to 2 billion people, perhaps. It's written in a very simple language, but again, this is opening up the process and understanding of the creation in the universe, the creation of materials, the movement, and of course, he said this is the whole creation process in these 3 books, if you understand it.
In such a hard back and very professionally done. And yeah, very good.
So I haven't seen the books on the website so far, but even if you're not Chinese, Mr. Keshe said he signed a number of these books, and in the future they may become a collector's item, or you may meet someone from China and be able to give them an extraordinary gift that you've also put in your library. So you don't have to be Chinese to order, but I don't think they've been offered yet. Let's continue here.
Going back on the what we call the Christmas packages now, the orders are going through. This is what you will receive, because these are actually packages getting delivered, and so I got a sense of humor on it. Comes from the Santa from North Pole, and this is how you receive the packages. Really, as a gift of love. A lot of effort has gone to do this, and then you see it. The other one, it tells you the same. A special delivery, and it's beautiful. You'll start receiving this. They're already going out, and this is how these packages were, according to which one you chose, and you can see a collection of them. It is not just what you call something being in there, and as the artwork goes, you can see them all there. These are physically, they are the ones who you're receiving in the next few days. They're going through the postal systems, delivering, and whatever it needs to be done. And with it, it carries every emotion. These packages, it's literally, you can set a Christmas table with it.
And again, if you have friends that you've always see fighting or arguments or unbalance in the home, these items are not only aesthetically beautiful, but they're quite functional to bring peace and balance. And even if they put them in a box after Christmas, or some of them can be displayed year-round, as I understand it. I don't know all the items in there, but this will bring a peace, and you may give a gift to the others just by putting these around the home without even mentioning their plasmatic capabilities of bringing a balance. And because sometimes when you tell people, they may want to resist or something as they think they have lost control, but it may be a very nice gift. And there's other products. All the products in the Keshe Foundation store are for the elevation of the soul of the man. And plus what they're trying to accomplish through the fields.
It contains everything from the Christmas table, lighting for the, or accessories for the Christmas tree, with all the ganses and everything else within it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it will be a fantastic time for many of you. The same goes with other products of the Keshe Foundation, which is coming out once we pass through the Christmas, as we join all the retail teams, manufacturing teams of the Keshe Foundation worldwide together as one network, as I said last week. And many of you are asking us when the monthly sessions will start again. We start the monthly sessions when we are in progress development of the new cycle of systems, because we learned a lot. We have to transfer it. A lot of it needs to go into the systems with the units, which is what you call it, especially built for the cash coins. And we go by this according to what we understand more, and we deliver according to the structure which we set up, and we just don't do sessions for the sake of doing sessions for people to be there. We do them when we need them. There's a special announcement. As part of the contractual agreement we had with those of you who bought the Ovisos, most of you received the first version a couple of years ago, and as part of our contractual agreement was, when it comes to updating and is updated, you'll be replaced automatically. To this effect, the Keshe Foundation, on the contractual agreements which we have with you, we receive a new latest version of the what we call portable Ovisos. You should start receiving them sometime in the next few weeks, 2, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. And then please just don't put them on the shelf. Try to get people to use them. Lock them with our system. This is we're built for that purpose. You will not pay a huge amount of money for this.
Now, what I'm showing in the background is going to be the original UBISOS, okay, Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. As I said, I believe it's still in the store. And let's just go back if we can, just to show this. And there's a beautiful video, we'll put it in the chat, about reversing Alzheimer's. Parkinson's and Alzheimer's can be reversed. And this was demonstrated in China the same way what we saw in the opening video was also demonstrated in China, and materials confirmed by the top military command and top scientists of the Chinese structure. So just let me show you where which we did take a quick look at earlier. And maybe I needed to click on all products. But the portable one is something like this. Although he did say he wanted to show a picture in the last workshop, and he was waiting for the lab to send him the picture, but I don't think we ever saw the picture of the new one. But that was the first version I was showing, the big sort of white egg. And as he said, the reactors were too loud. The second version looked something very similar to this, slightly different, but like this. And now the third version, which is more enhanced, is a portable unit, but we haven't actually seen the picture of it. And I'm just going to scroll down. Here's the Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit right here. So this was the original, and it's gone through two, just the way the iPhone goes through many different sort of models and development. This is also going through the same process. So I'm going to play that video, which we'll put in the chat. Somebody raised their hand, or was that a, please, you don't have to, you can just open your mic, please interrupt me. Or perhaps that was a inadvertent hand. All right, I put something there about artisans contacting the Keshe Foundation at info@keshe.foundation. Not saying your product will be accepted, but it could be accepted. And even if it's not accepted now, it could be accepted in the future. So let's go to this, and then we'll just play one of the original UBISOS videos made in China from probably a number of years ago.
Systems, and somehow we don't see the interaction from your side or commitment to it. And so as you received the last Ovisos, some of you received it actually in the conferences as you attended in that a couple of years ago around the world, you will receive the new up-to-date version, which is much more powerful and it's much more to the point. If you do not use them, send them back to us as donation. We know how to use them. We have to fulfill part of our contractual agreement with you lot. But many of you have received these Oviso headsets and you didn't do anything with them much, or you try to do it, we don't see something. You have to have a condition to be able to connect with it. And these cost tens of thousands of euros to be manufactured. And those of you who bought the Oviso units and then received the head unit to replace it, now is upgraded after 3 years of research development to a very much powerful system. It's totally different than the last one. And please, if you do not use your Oviso system, donate it back to us. We get somebody else use it. We have by obligational contractual to deliver it to you. If it stays in the box, it stays on the shelf, is a waste of helping another life. We can send it to Africa, we can send it to third world nations where it will bring benefit and joy, and we learn more from it that we can develop further technologies on the back. So you, as we agreed, you received the first batch upgraded. You receive the new systems in the coming weeks. But please use it. If you don't use it, it's on the shelf. You can't find people to use it, send it back as a donation to us. It is our job to keep every system up to date and up to grade. And the same thing goes with all of you with this system. These are very advanced technologies. Send them back to us that we can bring benefit to the others. Just don't put it on the shelf because I paid for it. Coming to our system with the communication, we, our team, think are getting to the last phase of polish.
Okay, anybody want to say anything about the Ubisos? And I don't know how many of them are spread across the world, but there are a number of them, probably more than I'm aware of. I know a few people that have them, but we'll have to see how this works. But he said later on, it's all tied in with the One Nation Network and the satellite souls and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more work in how it's all tied in exactly. We just know it is tied in. Any comments on Ubisos? So that was another surprise that came forward in this workshop. Anyone? Okay.
It. And first 25, I hope, when next week or so, within this week, we'll leave for destination across.
Okay, so now he's talking about the, where's our store? And of course, now he's speaking about the One Nation Network, which if we go up to the top of the page, this is what's creating this mesh and covering every inch on this planet. But to earn Keshe coins, or as you play this game of enlightenment, which is also embedded to teach yourself how to become more peaceful, you also need a wallet to store. So there's two aspects, or maybe three, if you, as he said, the cosmic ray antenna, which creates that dimension of energy within your structure in a way, will be added on later. And it's also going to be used to physically power the units, if I'm understanding correctly. And this is the grid that is being sort of, or the mesh, not only on this planet, but across the universe. So let's go back to our workshop just to show you that. This is what he's speaking about.
This planet. When you receive it, I hope when all the problems iron out, please contact us immediately. I received my package, and then our team will look into it. Till we don't receive a message from you that you receive your package, we cannot take any steps. So once you receive these, the first batch of 25, inform us of the receipt. And then our people, you don't need to do anything. Just connect it to the power supply and a Wi-Fi system, stable Wi-Fi. We cannot keep on flipping, coming and going out. And our people will lock into it. You don't need to do anything else. They load it up, everything else. And then you understand what needs to be done, and then the game comes onto it. We have to find out how we operate. Chinese side is a different operation. We have to lock it in different way for you lot. And the rest of the world, we want to see. Some of you sent us that you're on a what you call the American system, which we have any. We don't respond to you because we just gathering more information. How many people have the what you call Mr. Tesla, I call him, systems. We are not ignoring you. You have to wait that we start delivering. Once this 25 is done, we need about a month or so to iron out anything problems as we see it. When we see it, because we did this originally, we sent 2 units out somewhere to Europe, and we had to bring them back again to China because the things were not in it the correct way or was not loaded at all in part. So the first 25 you receive, keep in touch with us. If you see anything, let us know immediately. We'll open a link for information for these communication units. If there is any problem, there will be a link attached for you to tell us what problem you see, what you have, and our team will be on top of it to notice. But just because it doesn't do anything, just ignore it. Our team in the background will do. If we see a problem with your unit, the team will contact you as to what to do with the unit and what it is. And then once that's completed, you receive the next 100 to 200 will dispatch. And once we are fixed with that, the antennas will start moving out that we connect.
Okay, so the understanding is that the teachings and the books and the papers will all be put on this network. The game will be put on this network, but then the cosmic ray antenna, which brings in what I was first describing as the physical dimension, and then it'll bring in the energy dimension into the whole structure. So again, just like us, we operate in the physicality and we operate in the energy dimension, both, sometimes simultaneously. These units will provide that beauty that we can tap in for many different things, especially the freedom of the man.
You irrespective of your ground line. So be with us, and I hope you'll enjoy the new adventures which the Keshe Foundation is getting involved in, and it's very interesting to understand. We still carry on with our work, with our what we call endeavors in the science and technology. Never stops with us, and you're part of it because you made us to be where we are, to be part of. If there are any questions, try to answer.
Any questions that we can possibly answer, or hopefully one of the other ones can answer. We did put the link in for the Parkinson's and Alzheimer's can be reversed. So that's the above link that we put into the chat. And again, this was done in China with, again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's all been documented. And apparently this just wasn't a man that owned a shop. It was either someone high ranking in the military or a person that owned multiple hospital systems in China, where he was in the wheelchair for that amount of time. And within a very short period of time, you can see the progression in the motor skills and in the speech skills as well, even to the point of wanting to get in the car and drive. So many different scenes, but that was the first. And as he said, the second one, if the first one was a 1,000, the second generation of the Ubisos was a 10,000. And now he's saying the latest Ubiso is a very much more powerful version than even the last system. So again, we can't even think what's embedded into some of these, but they're all connected with the One Nation Network, with the Ubisos, with the satellite souls, with the cosmic ray material, coins. And again, it's hard to imagine, but we're just trying to share in a way an overview of what's being put together here. And we're putting it together in a way. They're developing the technology, we're supporting, reaching into the pocket a bit. And as Mr. Keshe said, the chip prices, these units have already gone from 2,000 euro to now 3,000 euro. But again, it's a gift to humanity, which the creation will recognize probably throughout eternity, as this is going to affect the whole universal condition as well. So fret not. And again, the first couple thousand units will actually earn Keshe coins just for having the unit and offsetting your electrical cost or what have you. But those coins will be used to shop in the Keshe Foundation store, or used for trading or other things internal to the Keshe Foundation. As if I didn't mention, the Keshe coin is an internal structure to the Keshe Foundation. As he said, write to us when you receive these units. He also asked people to write to them if they experience anything in the last session. I don't know if anyone wants to share anything that happened to them in the last session, maybe not in the public domain, but write to Mr. Keshe. So let's just go to, somewhere around 142 minutes, I think, perhaps. Let's just see. He'll mention this about writing to the foundation. I've put some of my thoughts. I think I'm having a greater love for the knowledge, although I can't recall manifesting anything during the session, but certainly peace and balance, which is, again, for many people, very precious. Let's see here, before we go to Erm's question. Okay. We're just going to scroll up to this small part.
Would you like to take a question from Erm?
Yes. There's something before MGuard comes on I have to explain. Many of you were touched by this system last week. And the thing is, we noticed from what you tell us, many of you literally fell into the same path, which was the plan or what we thought it should be the best way to do. We would like to report back to us how you feel today. What emotions you take. Our purpose last time was to bring you to feel the reality. To see if you see different dimensions and to create dimension of a physical transmutation of certain things that becomes very real to you. You think is actually there. And it was the purpose of it, because
again, you think it's actually there, but it's in the magnetic field, very similar to the way you have when you go to sleep. They told us to call it a dream, but it's actually the work of the soul. Now this is happening sometimes consciously and continues to happen at the sleep time. But you think it's actually there. And of course, I don't know if anyone would like to share anything about that. If not, we continue with this. Because we've sort of had a, and he does mention this.
Explain in the future time why we need and how you need this knowledge in the future to bring dimension of understanding in the soul, not in the physicality, but you still see it, what I call a real dream, but in 3 dimensions, which is part of the manifestation of transmutation. And please write to us how you feel next week from this session, because it's very, very important to us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I think we'll go back to the Faravar, which has a beautiful teaching. I'm going to pick up one of these little ornaments, perhaps, and put it on the wall or a poster of it. And I'm sure people will ask, what is that? What does this mean? I've never had this sort of explanation before. And I thought Mr. Keshe did a beautiful job in explaining part of it. Anyone have any thoughts or comments? Here, I think it's around 1:30, so we're going to adjust the video here to around 1:30. And again, I've seen these things in different drawings, never understood quite a bit. Maybe Mr. Keshe has taught more on that in the past. But let's see if we can catch up to Rick and Mr. Keshe.
Forever.
Yeah, that's the sign of Sarashta. Yeah.
And just share it here so that we can see what we're talking about. And well, I guess just trying to see one of our clearer images.
I think I better stop sharing, then you can share.
And remember, Mr. Keshe, this thinking, speaking, and acting good is not only the cornerstone of life, or will be the cornerstone of life on this planet, it's the cornerstone of life across the universe. And again, easier said than done, but only you can apply it, I believe, in your own structure. I can't force you to think good or speak good or act good, but you certainly can work with your closest friend, the soul, and move your physicality, again, a bit by bit closer to that behavior of the creator rather than the behavior of the physical dimension so much. Even though we're enjoying both, we just need to be more observers than, in some ways, active participants in taking energies. Okay, so let's.
This one will do.
Here's the Faravar.
Okay, so
You have to take over.
I just learned the name.
yes. Okay, should have that now. Believe. Oops. There,
Yeah.
this one rather.
As Mr. Keshe said, we're not encouraging a religion, although other religions have all tapped into this Mitraism or Zoroastrianism. Zoroaster, I think, is a Greek word, but I'm not sure. But they copied this. But he said, let's go past the religions and look into the process of creation. And he said, many of the Persians don't even understand. They weren't worshiping the fire. They had this eternal flame always lit. They were sort of acknowledging the source, or what made up that fire, which was the magnetical gravitational fields. He said a lot of Persians don't even understand that part. That's what they were acknowledging here. But Mr. Keshe will go into it a bit.
Okay, so this is an image of the forever. How do you pronounce it again, Mr.
It's always different. When we call it Faraha, they call it in Farsi the light, or we call the fire. For its love of creation, we have a name for it, which even Persians don't understand. We call it Izat, which means it's the beginning of, where the source comes from. It's like where everything has its own meaning and position. This picture, every line has a meaning, even the line within the sketch, separation of the stack and how it is. Those two little legs, one is doing good, the front which goes forward, and the one is the one which is doing bad and it has to be behind you. Zoroastrians wear a white t-shirt, and he has a, if you haven't been in the community of Zoroastrians, 99% of you don't even know, most of people don't know. This white t-shirt has a bag in the front and a bag in the back, like a sack. And the bag in the front is for the storing the good things. It's a psychological bag. It's a, what do you call it? Symbolic. And the bag in the back is for what you've done wrong. A man does so much wrong in the past, is behind him and needs a bigger sack. And then a bag in the front. It's an amazing thing when you understand the culture of the Zoroastrian. And then in your bad things are never forgiven in Zoroastrian. Whatever you do, you carry it on your back. That with it you learn that becomes a good thing in the front. It's a very special t-shirt. It's always white. And it's got a pocket in the back of the neck, on the shoulder, and a little pocket in the front by the heart. And you are never forgiven for your wrongdoings. It's you to learn from it, not to do. There is no punishment. And these things is embedded in this picture. You still carry your bad things behind you. as part of the leg, and one is the front. The leg which is the front in the same direction of the arm, which points to the sun, to the light, to the creator, is that what you call good side. But you have never allowed to forget what you done wrong. You're not forgiven. It's for you to remember and to take heed from it for the future.
I was just going to try to bring up something else about creating this twin spirit. I just happened to, let's see if I bookmarked it. I think I did. I shared this the other day. Let's see if it's this one. We'll come back to this. Yeah, Ahura Mazda apparently is the supreme god in the ancient Iranian religion, especially Zoroastrianism. And apparently Darius, according to the Britannica, if we can believe or understand. But this was Ahura Mazda created the universe and the cosmic order that he maintains. He created the twin spirits, and one and the other. So the former is beneficent, meaning the spenta. It's choosing truth, light, and life. Again, creating these twin spirits. In the latter, this one here, main Vayu, is destructive, choosing deceit, darkness, and death. So to me, this is the soul of, or the physicality, soul of physicality, and the soul. This is the twin spirits, or soul of physicality, we should say, and the soul of the man. One choosing the better qualities, the truth and the light. The other seems to be more weighted towards destructive, deceitfulness, darkness, and death. So this is the twin creation within our all selves. And this is what was acknowledged back then. And now we're understanding it through the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. This is the twin spirit. And we're just trying to get the lion and the lamb to eat and sleep in the same nest, as I understand it. So this was Ahura Mazda, and apparently this is what they referred to in Zoroastrianism as this sort of a creator god, in a way, created the universe. And that was according to some prophet in the Zoroastrian religion, Zarathustra. Okay. So just to give that piece of knowledge, but interesting, they had this understanding of the twin spirits, which we've learned a little bit about. Okay. I think we'll go back to where we were here. Hopefully I didn't lose it. Apparently, I guess I did. Okay, we're going to have to see if we can pull that back. It's probably not going to be there. It'll go right to the, just double check that again. Let's see, we're going to have to, we're on the Faravar and we were at just about 1:30. Sorry, it just disappeared off my, just to make sure. Okay, so we'll have to go back there and pick this up again at the Keshe Foundation. Again, this is one of our channels. If you're looking for many of the teachings, videos, playlists, or the home, it's called Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. You may not find a lot of rockets or UFOs in there, but you certainly will find the knowledge of the universe. So let's just bring up 619 again, and we'll go back to where we left off. No worries. There we go. Sometimes these things do happen. And whoops, where did you go? Let's go back to around 1:30. I think this is where we were at, maybe a little bit further on, as he was explaining the Faravar. And again, I never understood any of this, but very interesting. And there's much more built into this symbol. Many of the Zoroastrians who practice this idea or this Mitraism wear this symbol. This is apparently one of the more popular symbols people would wear, like in Christians as a cross. They wear this sort of symbol. So now, if you see it, you know that's someone who is working on thinking, speaking, and acting good if they understand it. But as he said, many of them have not even understood what the fire represented. It was just the source or the creator of the magnetic fields which created the fire is what they were sort of acknowledging in this thing. But he said it has quite a line with the children of Mitra with the same ethos.
On the shoulder and a little pocket in the front by the heart. And you are never forgiven for your wrongdoings. It's you to learn from it, not to do. There is no punishment. And these things is embedded in this picture. You still carry your bad things behind you as part of the leg, and one is the front. The leg which is the front in the same direction of the arm, which points to the sun, to the light, to the creator, is that what you call good side. But you have never allowed to forget what you done wrong. You're not forgiven. It's for you to remember and to.
You know, one time, at one point, Mr. Keshe said, I don't forgive and I don't forget. And I couldn't understand that. He explained it, I think, in a different point where he said, first of all, it's not my place to forgive. In other words, if you think you're forgiven for something you've done with me, then maybe you feel you can go do it to someone else because now you're forgiven. So, as he said, it's not my place to forgive. There's no punishment, as he said. And then about the forgetting, he said, if I forget, then I could be subject to getting abused in the same way again. So this is where, when I heard him say, I don't forgive and I don't forget, and you would think that sounds contrary to the understanding. But again, here, he said, there's no forgiveness. You carry the wrongdoings to learn from. And this is one of the reasons you carry them. But again, one knapsack in front and one in back, the good things and the bad things. And this is what we're working on, bringing a balance.
Take heed from it for the future. I love the structure, understanding, the true understanding of the Zoroastrian or Mitra is amazing, especially when you are brought in touch with at a young age. Then the whole thing takes different shape. Structured life has a different meaning.
Could it have the meaning, as Tender was getting to in her question, if we look at the Farabahar as a 3D picture, which you're suggesting too, is the third leg or support like the base of a star formation and the rest of the body?
No, this is the symbolic, the leg part with like a skirt is against the 3 layers of the wings. If you look at the wing, it's got 3 layers, original drawings. One is Dukut, Akut, and Vigut, and when it goes from one to the other side, it's the cycle of life. And the skirt is opposite to that. When you think bad, you do bad, and you act bad.
And haven't we been showing the 3 wise men, which all the Christians missed? Again, this is the gift of the 3 wise men. You see, they're holding gifts in their hand, but we were always told it was a matter state gift. But that same gift is represented in this picture of the Farbahar, about the thinking, speaking, and acting. So we see the gifts now, they're becoming, in a way, more real to us. And maybe because of Christmas and the physical giving, that's why they sort of diverted it into a physical understanding of giving rather than in the gift of the three wise men as they originally meant it. So even in the holy books, it seems to be written in the matter state, not in the energy or shielding. Oops. Okay, we go back.
Isn't talk in there? Isn't talk one of them?
It's the what you talk, what you think, and what you do is the creation of life. This is humans. And that circle in the middle between the wings is partially explained to be the earth, and inside it usually you see another ring. And there's an interpretation of why you have the ring on the hand and you have the ring on the earth. The ring on the hand is being away from the earth, is the soul of the creator, soul of the man. It's very interesting. I spent days in the temple and we learned from it. And you understand that the Russian teaching is very different than what is in public, what they teach you. Why you have fire. You know, they said the people worship the fire. We used to tease our friends, the Russians. We used to get a match and blow it. Your God is gone. But the Russians believe on different type of fire. You have the fire of the kings and leaders. You have the fire of the holy men. The fire of the holy men cannot benefit the fire of kings. And the temple of the holy men is different than the temple of the kings, where the fire is kept. Then you have the fire of, like, who we call industrialists, or people who are the traders. And then there are 5, I think, fires in the culture of Zoroaster. And one cannot be mixed. And the way the temple is set is there. It's very interesting because if you go to Tehran, you have a temple on the right side of the road and the Russian high school, and on the left side, depends which, if you come from the Russian embassies, on the right side. If you on the left side is a church and a school for Christians, and the back of not far is a mosque. And by law, the Russian school, they have to teach Islamic religion principles, and they teach the Zoroastrian teaching principles too. So we have a religious hour, and the religious hour is taught by mullah. Used to be taught by mullah with a turban, because they had to bring their influence, who they are, what they are.
So one of the points here is it's very much on the line of the ethos of Mitra, this Zoroastrianism. And again, we are trying to apply, it appears in the Christian Holy Book, as I said, the gift of the three wise men, which we all miss because it was meant to be missed. It wasn't physical gifts, it was the gift of thinking, speaking, and acting good, which we're all working on, hopefully. But we're getting a lot of support again. I think what we'll do before we go to create the Dome of Peace is let's listen to the last number of minutes. Again, from what Mr. Keshe said, I don't think we covered that. Let's see, it's, okay, we're going to go about maybe 108, 109. And this is what Mr. Keshe said after he joined the celebration. This is very much, very similar to the children of Mitra, or the daughter of Mitra.
And with the beauty and totality in your heart, and salam to him.
We're just going to move it. And we'll hear what Mr. Keshe said. It's a birthday for all of us in so many ways. It's just, I didn't actually mark it. Maybe I'm missing it. Or it's before this, I think.
unite.
No, sorry. I think it's at 109, if I recall. I did listen to this.
Her birth in this report. We can
Plasma technology. And that public meeting for testimonials will start at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. And it's very timely.
For years to come.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the session. I wasn't here to enjoy it, but I hope you enjoyed it. And in what I know, this day will be celebrated for years to come. Not just by Christians as a St. Nicholas Day, but the day of birth of the daughter of Peter, beginning of a peace. A peaceful life in the dimension of the soul of the man, as she has not much to do with physicality of the man. And hopefully, we'll see changes. And I have seen changes in the past years. And it's a pleasure to be part of this time, especially when you know what is to come and what is to set. And my wish is that every soul will have a chance to be in that position and to start a life this way as part of the what I call the ethos of peace and love and care, and what we crave for will be a normality where peace of souls will be creator of the peace for man, and not just man, for the whole of physicality of life in the universe. Looking very forward very much to what is to come in the coming years as we see changes and how the soul of this girl will change many of lives and brings peace and happiness and brings prosperity for the whole of universe and not just humanity. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to be a very, very rough time, because what has become habitual is very hard to change. And one day I explained the depth of the change needed. This fungus of killing and destroying has spread across the universe through the soul of the man. And he needs change, and with this we'll see the change. The good thing is the change comes from the root, from where he started, than trying to, as we say, nip the bud, because the roots will still go carry on and create the wrong flowers, the wrong end. And with this, the correction comes from within, from the base, from the start. I'm sure what you did today maybe was a reason for me not to be here, because I tried in past, God knows, 15, 20 minutes trying to get to you. That the soul of the Universal Members, Universal Council, knowingly or unknowingly, the present, the past, and the future members of the Council are all connected to bringing what is supposed to be. One day, as I said, mankind will understand the position of Universal Council as, in a way, you become the acting hand, arms, or dimension of the soul of the daughter of Mitra, in a way to spread, to support the wishes of what is to come. And I see myself as just a servant to the whole thing and nobody else, nothing else. And I wish one day, mankind see the beauty of what is to come. Happy birthday to all of you, as is a birthday for all of us, a new birth for all of our souls that actually the physicality. And thank you very much for organizing this. I wish I could have been earlier, but I just managed to get to the last part.
So happy birthday to all of our souls. So this is the dimension of peace within the energy dimension, I believe. He said not so much to do with the physicality, but that will come along in time as well. But very beautiful celebration. Thanks for all who've put this together. This will become a celebration, not only on this planet, when man understands, of course, but across the universe. And this is what has been promised. And we've never even understood Mitra, never mind the daughter of Mitra. But again, it's a new birth for all of our souls. So thank you very much. And not only the ones that are here, but he's saying across this whole planet, as this disease of killing and destruction, apparently man has brought it out into the universe. And this is why the change, it needs to be dealt with at the root, he said, of this nursery. So thank you, daughter of Mitra. And I'm sure we're going to see more of these types of interactions coming along. And as Mr. Keshe also indicated, we'll start to look in the news for other changes happening around the world, and perhaps even in your own small neighborhood or family, as these fields start to settle in. So we're getting a lot of help in creating the Dome of Peace, but yet we're going to continue on with the process. One is releasing GAN's waters, again, very similar, but something in the matter state for us to do. You can release them any way you want, coordinated together at 12 or 18 p.m. Every Sunday. And of course, the Brazilians have given us a very nice background in a way. Here, just to remind, every Sunday at 12 p.m. and or 6 p.m. Either way, CET or CEST, use the plasma water, and it can, I believe it can be any sort of plasma water. Put the good intentions and just release it, whether it's down the drain or you spray it or whenever. And of course, you don't have to limit that process to just once a week. You could do it all the time, as we know we can do with our energy centers. So let's just listen to Stefania. As we know, we've been through this many times.
I don't know if anyone want to read this Dome of Peace. Anyone want to offer?
I
With a
will
nice
read it
voice.
for you.
Okay.
This is what came in and what is now become a pattern. This from a guy, I don't know him, but he says, please remember this Sunday and every Sunday from now on, till we raise the soul of this planet to a peaceful planet. Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers worldwide will spread the gas waters around the world at 12 p.m. Central European Time and or 18 p.m. Central European Time every Sunday at the same time as they choose which time to suit them. Thank you for participating in this greatest movement by the soul of the man to bring about the peace on this planet as the permanent feature of the life of this planet.
So again, creating the Dome of Peace, something for the physicality to do. And again, nobody fails this process. You create some GANs. You can go on the Keshe Foundation wiki. If you don't know how to make a GANs, it's pretty simple. Contact one of the other knowledge seekers or knowledge teams, and you'll understand that. And then you just release the water. And you can do that at any time, any place. But collectively, we're doing it because collectively, we're stronger. Everyone's emotions, in a way, are involved in this. again, emotions of peace and love and care. This is what we give to the world leaders. And comes to the second step of the Dome of Peace, which is the power of the soul. Again, the Chinese have been doing this for quite a long time, and we see quite a bit of progress in the Chinese nation with the gold production, with the books, and many other things. Again, much more going on in the background that hasn't been revealed to us. But it's for the whole planet. As we know, the waters go around everywhere. So just by releasing them wherever you are, they'll find where they need to go, and they know what to do when they get there. And that's to bring balance. So it's very similar to our work within our own structure and within our community of bringing balance. But we also have a lot of, let's say, external help from the sun, from the 3i, from the Swan R2, from the systems the Keshe Foundation is making, and probably a few other things that haven't even been revealed to us at this point. So participate in it if it's your wish to see peace on this planet. And of course, satellite souls are involved, the One Nation Network. It's just amazing what Mr. Keshe is building on this planet. So now if we go to the second step of the Dome of Peace, which again, very easy to work with the plasma. As you can see, releasing water doesn't take a lot of work and doesn't take a lot of energy. And of course, working on the energy dimension, this is what is being opened up to us. Doesn't take a lot of work. It doesn't take a lot of effort to work in this dimension. So the Universal Council invites everyone to join them on a daily basis at the 9 p.m. And you can extend that as you see. You can go to 12 or, and again, it just could be 1 nanosecond of your life and start there and build up from it. But the Universal Council invites the Keshe and Universal Council family and unifying at the soul level every day, 9 p.m. So for the elevation of the souls of the leaders and the soul of totality of the Keshe Foundation, creating peace in everything that exists. That's one of the ways you'll be able to identify the children of Mitra, I think he said, as they try and create peace and balance in every position that they're in. But he said he described to us how to recognize these children of Mitra, the way they stand and speak and the rest of it in the future time. So you're all invited. Beauty of it, again, is nobody fails this test. We all have different fields and different energies. And combined, they make a beautiful bouquet of fields, again, giving peace, love, and care to the world leaders and world religious leaders who actually give the world leaders the pretext for certain operations called war and destruction, again, to sometimes confirm their own existence, unfortunately. But we're elevating them. This is the process, and this is how we work. And again, not in the matter state, but through the wish, we actually bring the peace will be established on this planet. As I said, plus many other systems that are operating and will continue and expand its operation to do the same. So we're just sort of adding into it or connecting it. As I said, the One Nation Network, the coins, the cosmic rays, other systems, the Ubisos, the satellite souls, all connected to, again, bring this change slowly, gradually, but collectively. So I thank you all in advance for your continued participation. And of course, if you'd like an actual meeting you would like to attend, which is beautiful, we do attend these meetings. And every Wednesday or every day, you can, different times. Wednesday is at 6 p.m. CET, but the daily intentions, which the soul of the Brazilian team has been faithfully carrying through, and of course their soul has the power to see it through. So the daily intention at 1 a.m. CET or on Wednesday at 6 p.m. You can join in the Zoom, the Telegram, and other, or not in the, the Telegram and other channels that they have set up on Facebook, probably in different ways. I don't know all the different ways, but they certainly have a lot of routes to get into their meetings. So whatever way you choose, you can be part of it. And again, we just continue this process. It's not a day job till we reach a permanent peaceful condition. Let's hear from Shweta. Thank you, Stefania.
Anybody wants to read the Dome of Peace? I mean, beautiful souls. Here. Okay. I'll read this beautiful presentation of Dome of Peace. And the Dome of Peace is already here. All the knowledge seekers, truth seekers, lovers of humanity has built it in a way, spreading the guns, loving each other as shareholders. So I will read this as please remember every Sunday from now on until we raise the soul of this planet to a peaceful planet, Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers worldwide will spread the Gans waters around the world at 12 p.m. CET and or at 18 p.m. CET every Sunday at the same time, as they choose which time to suit them. Thank you for the participation in this greatest movement by the soul of man to bring about the peace on this planet as a permanent feature of the life of this planet. Mr. Keshe suggests we add the next step to create the Dome of Peace with power of the souls, as we have already going through this with the 2 eyes. And we ask you to spread the Gans waters each Sunday. Now we give you a new path. Now try to unite each other's souls. Try to elevate the souls of humanity, soul of humanity, through your own soul to a level that no one can touch the embodiment of the human race. So beautiful. Choose a time where all of you come together on the soul level in a state of inner calmness. At that time, don't spread the water of Gans, but spread your soul. Unite, and in time, we will make a new race out of the soul of man. And then, instead of doing it once a week, do it all the time. Keshe.
Okay, so let's take 1 minute and strengthen this Dome of Peace and play with our energy dimension. If you're working in the background, don't feel a need to have to stop or pull the car over to participate in this. We can multitask, as we know, as the creator multitask supremely, and so don't many of the women we have. We have a lot to learn. But again, let's just take 1 minute, strengthen the Dome of Peace, and spread those fields to the world leaders of peace and love and care. And remember, we have a lot of other help coming to this process. It's not only us here doing this, but many other systems are being activated, and even the whole universe, certain galaxies are changing position and holding, and we're going to see more and understand more in the future about what we've done and what we've been through. So let's just take a 1 minute of time, and then we'll go to Alex's teaching, and we'll just take 60 seconds on this. Again, working in the plasma doesn't take a lot of work and doesn't take a lot of energy. So let's just take a moment. Thank you all for participating in this process and for your continued participation in this process. Again, it's not a day job, but we're also exploring our energy side. And you wonder how, I always wondered how we could change the world leaders. I thought it had to be in the dimension of physicality, where we had to write them an email, we had to protest. But we're working on the mother connection, which is that soul of the creator, which is within all of us. And this is how we're reaching them direct line. Very simple, not a lot of work, just the emotion or the intention to share. And of course, in that process of giving these beautiful energies of peace, love, and care, you also get fed in that whole process. So again, helping us to explore the energy dimension and bringing change without really working through the physicality, which again, reaching world leaders in my position, I don't have the funds or the connections or again, and I'm glad we don't have to fight the physicality of changing humanity in the physical dimension, because I probably wouldn't last very long. I'd be eliminated at some point. But with the energy connection, this makes it so easy to work. We just need to raise more and more of a collective awareness of the souls that they have this ability, or the physicality of those souls, that they can then employ their souls to bring about the change in this manner. And again, we're just part of a multi-part system, I would say. But this has been the whole target the whole time, is for us to understand more and more about our own creation, and this will be, of course, applied across the universe. So we're not losing anything. Alex, want to welcome you. I don't know if the cake is finished. Yes, the cake has been completed, and we're about to go into another teaching. I want to welcome Alex and thank you for all the time, effort, and sharing you put in to these teachings, and may they travel far and wide and elevate as much as possible the others. Thank you, Alex, for being with us.
Great job, Mark, and thank you very, very much. So let's all get into this very important business.
Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Thank you so much, everybody. Welcome to the Keshe American Knowledge Team meeting of 2025. We won't be saying that much longer because things just keep on moving along. And but I want to thank you all for participating in this very important time, because we are sharing the field strength across many continents, and this is represented by the panelists on this session today. So it transcends the American Knowledge Team. It's really flowing right around the world. And this is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute teachings on plasma science. We're discussing advanced GANs tech. We're talking about the gold rush. My name is Alexander. I'm from Canada. It is December the 7th, 2025. And this is part of the Keshe Foundation North America Plasma Education Series. So we've been talking about this education series, which we've been trying to put into bite-sized pieces. And there are a lot of bite-sized pieces. So it's as we start to accumulate not only the thousands of hours of teaching, but the hundreds of videos, and now we're getting into the hundreds of basic teachings, and that's not just for me, but it's going on around the world, and this is very, very exciting. All of us now need to be able to take from this how we determine it and then use it the way we can, because we're all individual. We all have an individual understanding and an individual ability to interpret that and pass that information on to others. So the most important thing is to pass that information on to others. And we're discussing the gold rush today because as we know, we've had gold rushes in Alaska, and obviously the San Francisco 49ers football team is not commemorating the gold rush of 1949, but the gold rush of 1849. And we are commemorating the Beyond Beijing gold rush because the 2025 gold rush has begun. And what is confounding really is that despite the fact that we have been able to produce material gold, despite the fact that we are contracted to produce 400 tons, despite the fact that we've had over $50 billion invested, and despite the fact that we're doing this without any mining per se, conventional mining, excavating, scarring the surface of the earth and all that. But despite the fact that this is affecting all mineral exploration, and the silence is deafening. So we wonder why that is. And it really doesn't matter why or who says what. What matters is that what we've been able to do is to demonstrate the plasma science in a practical manner. And so we started in a teaching manner with book number 1 by Marin Tavakoli Keshe of the Universal Order of Creation of Matter. And this is where we're getting back right to the beginning, where we are bringing the matter, dark matter, and the antimatter together. And when we bring things together, we obviously have a source of that. And so that leads us to book number 2, The Structure of the Light, because this is the dump truck that brings up the aggregate that has the gold, isn't it? And so when it comes from one universal order of matter and it brings it to another universal order of matter, well, you have to carry that matter somehow, and the light seems to fit the bill. And then, of course, we have the origin of the universe in book number 3, which says something different, where we have the origin of the universe dividing into 2 universes, one of which, of course, is our universe, and then there's the sister universe, which we don't really give recognition to or account for. It's not taught in schools, and we don't even know much about our own universe, as we're finding out with the visitors that are coming this month. So the thing is that our universe is limited to our tiny, perfect world, our planet, our Earth space. And that is just a speck in man's universe. So you can clearly see that we are preoccupied with a scheme that is extremely small. And this extremely small scheme is going through changes. And so Rick Crammon and the members of the Universal Council for 407 weeks have brought us together this one planet, one nation, one race concept for justice and world peace. And the reason for that is because we are all humanity tenants on this planet. And this planet is one of the most welcoming planets, also referred to as one of the most gravitational of the planets in the solar system. And as such, it's brought a lot of angels, some of which are fallen, because they fall through weakness. And in that process, all the falling on this planet is due to increased density, increased pressure, and then it increases gravity. And we see that with satellites as they go around, and once they come to the end of their life, they just fall. And so it becomes apparent that there's an increased dependence on Earth space feeding. And so in order for us to maintain our angular density and conserve this angular momentum, we have to have an opposing internal pressure of the GANS fields. And so we start to realize that, well, one of the fundamental things is that we are fundamentally GANS in a bag of skin. And it's a crude way of saying things, but we've been crude all along because we didn't understand the plasma rule. You see, the higher strength feeds the weaker strength, but we have perverted that and said the higher strength eats the weaker strength. In either case, the coming together of the high strength and the weak strength is a transaction zone. And we have 2 points of view. One is that it's a point of conflict, and another is that it's a point of binding. Either way, it becomes a manifestation of whatever we have given our time and energy to. And that manifestation is more dense. And so the coming together of these 2 points of view is the coming together of one inertia field. So inertia field is the creation of 2 fields into one through a lower density, hence the manifestation. And this is what we have to understand when we start to look at our historical concept and how we have been, for some reason, given these 10 commandments and trying to understand that we needed these commandments because dogs were smarter than we were, and they didn't have 10 commandments. So this means that we needed supplementation. And then we found that there's more than just 10, but there's another 14, altogether 24 commandments, okay. And this opens up many discussions. But one of the discussions that is most important, at least for me, is that thou shalt not lie. And why this is important is because lying is a physical thing. It's a physical manifestation of a true intention. And when I say it's a physical manifestation of a true intention, that true intention is not necessarily the intention of the soul of the individual. And the reason for that is because the soul will never lie. So here's an anomaly. If thou wants to be a really good poker player, then you can sit down at a table of liars and see who is the best liar, and the best liar wins. And of course, that game, the way it's played, is there's one winner and everybody else is a loser. Fun game, isn't it? It's just like Russian roulette, where, you know, the doctors think good things about vaccines, and but it's like a Russian roulette, isn't it? And 5 out of 6 doctors think it's a great game. So the key to it is that lying is not acceptable in outer space, because it isn't just the true intentions of the physical manifestation, but it's true intentions of the soul, because the physical manifestations are completely invisible. So when we are physically dominant, we are just looking at the visibility, and we are wanting to bind our energy, and that's very important. It's a very self-serving dimension point. And the thing, of course, is that no one loves you more than you do. So it becomes your responsibility to look after your own needs. But do you have to do it at the expense of others who also have these same needs? So we become extremely focused on me, myself, and I. And so those 3 dimensions come together in our focal point, and it blinds us to everything else. And of course, one of the things that really blinds us is the glitter from the gold. And when we talk about the gold rush, it elevates the emotion, the heart begins to pound, and the race is on. And many have perished in that process, and many have succeeded and received a huge bounty. But what does it do to a man's character? And how many of those who did succeed in the gold rush actually continue and to prosper? Or did they fall back like fallen angels back into the self-serving binding at the expense of others, which of course is a form of loosh harvesting. So that sucks out your vitality. And when you're leaking, you have to continue to supplement. And this is where we're at. We're too focused on the gold and the glitter of the gold and not understanding that when we find the gold, we didn't make the gold. We had to steal it from the earth space. The question is never asked, well, how did earth space produce gold? How did it produce copper? How did it produce oil? And then, of course, people question the quality of the gold. Well, gold is just gold, isn't it? How many times have you heard people say, oh, it's water. Water is just water. What's the difference between, physical water and plasma water? What is the difference between gold and gold gans? Well, what's the difference in the oil? Some oils are heavy, some are light, some are sweet. Not all oil is made by earth space the same way. So it changes the quality. What affects that quality? Well, clearly there has to be an environment. And so when we look at our ability to function on this planet, we are looking at practical points. We are looking at two fields coming together within a containment. So we are looking at the picture and the reflection of the picture. And so we have to decide on practical reasoning, the road to self-determination or the road from self-determination. We have to apply a practical philosophy, practical solutions. And so we see gold as a practical currency of life. But adenosine triphosphate is the real currency of life. And that's given to us through the exchange of the currency of the Creator. So we have to learn how to connect the dots. So not everything we touch turns to gold, although we all like to have a gold finger. So last week when we talked about sunflowers, we found that there were overlapping fields, and so we had the singularity of each field and the duality of the maggrav of the inertia field. And so we identified crudely 3 different magnetical zones, balanced off by 3 different gravitational zones. And so discounting the stem, we have the inner circle, we have the petals, and we have the seeds. And each of them is a maggrav, and they're all overlapping fields. And are you able to make this? Or are you going to take a seed and plant it into the ground and then watch it grow? And you just be a casual bystander and say, please, baby, grow, grow. Just like the miner says, let's just dig, baby. Let's get it. Well, we've been given gold. One of the things about life is that the cups of life have taught us that we can enhance our emotional strength and our physical strength. And this comes from our inner space. We learned about the nanocoding process of the monatomic science. And so in that way, we took the physical connections and we didn't call them the cups of the pandemic, we call them the cups of life. And we created, through the carbon connection and the nanocoating of the copper, and we created an emotional GANs and a physical GANs. The emotional GANs being zinc and the physical GANs being copper. And we created a lot of other GANSes, CO2, calcium, water, and amino acid. And that was very basic because that was the most important transaction zone that we were concerned about because the pandemic was affecting all of us. And in the absence of a solution, it caused a fear, panic, an emotional breakdown, which of course exacerbated the situation, despite the fact that in June of 2020, we showed the world how to eradicate the virus in 30 minutes. But they're still talking about new pandemics and the possibility of that. And so you wonder, in the face of the fact that we've been able to mine the gold, we are still ignoring that reality. So you can bury your head in the sand, and maybe someone was going to mine for deadheads in the sand and try and connect them to the cup of the universe. Well, what do we see? We see the two hemispheric regions of the brain, and they are in a plasma state, in a GAN state. And so we have the connection between the physical copper GANs and the emotional zinc GANs. And we have the brain matter made up of calcium. And then, of course, we have the carbogen, which is a connection to the universe. That's why it's the cup of the universe. So this is how we're connected. But what we manifest is the physicality, because we need to have arms and legs to manifest on this planet, because the brain just doesn't cut it. It's not enough. So we are able to actually operate on different, shall we say, highways. There's a transmission highway of the carbon-12, which involves frequency and temperature and pressure. And then the carbon-14 highway, which is a transition highway, and it gives us an option to either elevate or to decay. And then we have the transmutation highway, which is operating at an entirely different level, completely detached from the physical matter state. And so we have a plasma dilemma. If we are above the transmission highway, we are technically in the plasma state. But what we have to understand is that the transition highway is a substructure for the transmission highway. So therefore, it has a higher affinity to the physicality and a lower affinity to the plasma state. So if we drop one state, that state would be the physical state completely. And then if we were to elevate, we would have to go through that transmission highway and actually increase the size of that field in even beyond carbon-16. And that would be an exclusively plasma state. So this is how the cup relationships work. Each cup has a magnetical gravitational relationship, and they manifest the soul radiance. So we have the cup of the soul, the cup of the emotion, the cup of the physicality, working with the cup of the earth. The earth, yes, that's the environment. You can't manifest without an environment, because you have to, if you're going to be somewhere, that somewhere has to be there. So in order for us to interact with the cup of the earth, we then can create the inertia field, and that becomes the cup of the inertia. So our existence on this planet is a culmination of three cups of us and the inertia field of the cup of the earth. I said, well, wait a second, the inertia field of the cup of the earth? Well, yeah, that's where the copper manifests. That's where the gold manifests. That's where the oil manifests. And the oil and copper and gold manifested the same way. When two fields come together, they create an inertia field, and that inertia field is of a lower energy state. And so that energy state has fallen. And so we have been learning that we could actually not only go from the nano state to the GAN state with the cup of life, but we can create a cup of life product. In other words, if we were to take the GANs of emotion of one cup and the GANs of emotion of another cup, we could create a GANs of a GANs. That becomes a new transaction zone. And interestingly enough, it becomes even more powerful. So when we're looking at how we can transcend from one point of creation to another point of creation, then we have to understand, first of all, that everything is part of creation, including decay. Decay and destruction is one form of creation. We may just say, oh, well, someone created life and someone created a mess. And when people have misconduct, they're proud of the mess they create. But the fact of the matter is that the creation and its perfection is part of the creation through ray motion. And this ray motion is creation. And so it all comes together in a transaction zone. So on the creation side, there has to be a range from the natural creation to the natural decay. And on the decay side, there has to be a range from the natural decay to the natural creation. So there's a counterweight between these two zones. And that becomes another transaction zone, which is the bonding area. And to cross from one to the other, then you look at the bonding area as a boundary. And so how do you move? How do you cross this boundary? And how do you change things? So we find that all energy is energy in motion, and energy is always positive. So when we refer to a charge, the charge isn't whether it is positive or negative, it's the direction of flow. So the emission, which is magnetical, is negative, and the absorption, which is gravitational, is positive. And so every movement is going from the emission to the absorption. And we say, well, wait a second. The gravitational is of a higher field strength. Well, yes, it is. So that field strength is higher due to the rotating field and the speed of that field and the strength and the direction. And so from there, it creates the emission. Now that the emission is free, it can run all over the place. But it has a tendency, a susceptibility, and it is going to run not only around the gravitational core, but it is going to go outside of the outer sphere. Therefore, it's creating other aspects of it. And so we try to demonstrate this, how energy flows. And we say, okay, well, energy flows in water because GANs can flow in water, which means that water can exchange energy. And how it does that is to give and take energy. Well, GANs gives and takes energy also. So this giving and taking is an exchange. And so the GANs can exchange magnetical energy, or the GANs can exchange gravitational energy. Well, who gets to choose? And so these are the factors that we need to take into account with respect to our skill set. And so in our skill set, which we demonstrated, we just demonstrated earth matter, which was gold. And we did that with these rotating bowls. And these are one of the original experiments that we did when we were talking about the plasma science a decade ago. And so the question was, is this transacted in singularity or in duality? Well, interestingly enough, each of these balls had GANs within them, but it wasn't just one GANs. They actually created an inertia field there. And so it appeared to be in singularity. And it appears that we created from that an inertia density manifestation. And so it appears that each element in the grand central Earth ganses is also either transacted in singularity or duality. And so we have capability of having many, many different ganses. But the thing is that each of these ganses is just a fragment of the complexity, because they are all an inertia field that was fed with the nuclear feeding. And it had a gravitational stability. And of course, it had a dimensional portability. So on a particular energy level, you create this point. And as these fields come together, well, we talked about the matter, dark matter, and antimatter, they come together and it's equal to more than 3. Why is it not equal just to 3? Well, because we still have the antimatter, dark matter, and antimatter coming together. We don't lose that. It's ongoing. It's an ongoing show. Energy doesn't stop. You can't stop it. You can only contain it. And once you contain it, you have these attributes. And in the process of containing, energy is coming and going. And so we have this dimensional portability. So we said it can come, it can go, it can accumulate, or it can deplete. So the nearness and proximity to everything else matters. And so when we look at the various range details of the Earth space, these are all based on a purity that we can identify as either a carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, or a hydrogen, or copper or zinc, or gold. And then there's a concern about the purity. And as we said, all the oil that is drilled for around the world is not of the same quality, and neither is the gold. But the gold that is coming from the plasma manifestation is of the highest quality, because just like we have arrived with the singularity of each field and the duality of the maggrav of the inertia field. And because of our presence and because of the Earth space presence, we went through this conversion. And so our humanity matter is part of the process. And this is a very interesting thing that a lot of people looking at the situation could not figure it out, because we're not all fallen angels. Most of us are arrived angels. Our destination was Earth space. So the inertia came from the feeding of the Gans matter and created an inertia density manifestation. And so there was a natural selection of a certain field strength of the matter, dark matter, and antimatter. And so we see that the principal matter, which are the PM ticks, which are created from the universe, are mechanical, and they travel as an energy pack. So we have to understand that this energy pack is complete. It includes its own containment of matter, dark matter, and antimatter. But when these PM ticks come together through what we call force field dilution, they converge as principal, transition, and convergence matter. And then they convert into a plasmagen. It isn't until there's an environment, such as the maggrav condition of the Earth space, that we can have a field interaction And that field interaction then is the inertia of our creation. And that rule applies to gold as well. So when we're looking at these pathways and how we manifest something, we have to understand that there's a gravitational intensity we call attraction, but that's part of the feedback, shall we say, the success or failure of whatever we tried to create. It's counterweighted by the magnetical outintensity we call repulsion, but that's actually the feeding. That's feeding what you have excess of, what you don't need. So we look at the electron as part of the magnetical outintensity, and we look at the neutron as part of the gravitational intensity. And so we know that the neutron is 1,849 times larger than the electron, and I'm sure you can all see the difference between those two things. But what we're not able to see is the matter plasma dimensions, because we're only seeing the physical because we can touch it and see it. But the plasmatic, which we can't touch or can't see, is also part of the matter plasma, and that is the supporting cast, if you will, of the physical manifestation. And so the physical manifestation and the support of the physical manifestation is all part of the feedback. And so this is how we view the universe. So we become feedback dominant, totally ignoring the fact that energy has come from the universe. So we're not seeing the counterweight measure. Well, we're seeing the physical state where we measure that state through the weight. That weight is gravitational. The atomic state we've already accepted is gravitational, but we measure it with mass. Then the nuclear state, well, that's actually magnetical, and we measure that in Teslas. But the plasma state, that confounding plasma state that we can't explain, is measured in time. So these are all counterweight measures. And so they balance the magnetical gravitational fields. And they transcend atomic states, nanostate, GaN state. We're talking about advanced GaN state today, and they're supported by the plasma state. And each one has to have a balance, a magnetical gravitational balance, but not only within that energy state, but we can transcend different MAGRAV energy transfer states. And then that too has to be balanced off. So how do you balance off a higher state with a lower state? Well, obviously, we're doing that all the time. So that's why, in failing to understand how we create the gold gas, then we resort to simply mining for it. And then we think we're doing something. Whereas what we're really doing is we're robbing it from the earth, which has provided it for us, and we're claiming it to be ours. And yet we didn't make it. Well, now we can make it. And so it all comes from hydrogen. But hydrogen, too, is not just hydrogen. We have hydrogen molecules with covalent bonds. And it has a different personality. Depending on the polarity, if the poles are alike, that's orthohydrogen. If the poles are opposite, there's parahydrogen. But you still have a balanced state. But the characteristics are different. And that is the subtle changes in the plasma science. And if we could understand how not only can we make the cup of life, but we can make a cup of life product. And then we could create the GANs of the grants. So we can create a cup of emotion, GANs of GANs, but we can also create a cup of physicality, GANs of the GANs. And so we can make a cup of gold as a GANs. And we can make a cup of gold as a GANs of a GANs. And we can do that in large volume, because what we do is we understand the concept of duality. So you have these 2 points working as in tandem, as a partnership. We call it twinity. So where the same thing, we looked at the creation and the decay as being one part of the transaction zone, and the decay and the creation being the other part of the transaction zone, these two work together. So whether it be as a binding zone, whether it be as a plasmatic substructure, or whether it be as the base of a star formation, all these things work in duality, because you can't have a transaction zone without this duality. So when two forces come together and you say, oh, we have a susceptibility and singularity because each of these forces are in singularity. Well, each of these forces is a maggrav in its own, on its own. So it just represents as a PM tick. It looks like it's in singularity and comes together with another PM tick in singularity. But in reality, when we look at the basic gold reactors, we find that there are two rotating Gans balls. And inside each Gans ball are two Ganses. And they too are interacting. So we are able to facilitate a maggrav condition in each of these rotating spheres. And so it looks like when these two forces come together, that we have the susceptibility and singularity so that we can actually create a gold. And so the truth is there's a susceptibility in duality. So it isn't just one rotating ball, but you have the two rotating balls on each point. And so you have an inertia field that is created from this duality. And then if this duality is moved to each and every point, then you have a totally different ball game. So now you have, when you're looking at this susceptibility and duality, you have this focused transaction zone, and it's pure plasma. And that plasma can manifest into the physicality if it has the proper motivation. So when we're talking about the concept of the twinity, in the past, we talked about the 2 points of the nanotech, the 2 points of the picotech, and the 2 points of the Gans of the star tech. So this is advancing us to discussing the twinity of the nanotech and the twinity of the Gans tech. So we have to understand that as these twinities come together, they create this transaction zone. And today, we are talking about the gold rush, because the gold rush is a polyatomic inertia gradient. In other words, in order to manifest in that transaction zone, it has to come together between two other transaction zones. So the exchange from one field to the other has to have a magnetical gravitational relationship. It has to have a counterweight with another magnetical gravitational relationship. So to create the first transaction zone, it's coming together of two stars formations, duality. And then you have one on the left and one on the right. And now you can create this inertia gradient in between. So each of these points, and there's multiple turning points, are polyatomic inertia gradients. And I say gradients because you change any one star formation in terms of its field strength, and you will alter the result. So that's where the susceptibility and duality comes in, because each point of the star formation is magnetical. The manifestation of that eventually becomes the gravitational core. That's the transaction zone. So if we can understand that picture, and then if we can see the energy flow, how it's created from these two energy states coming together, the horizontal transmission and the vertical transition. That creates a transaction zone at the core, which is the Earth space point. And then it emits through the plasma field that goes around, and that becomes the Earth space field. And that continues to flow. And so in the process of flowing, it has to have a transaction zone. Without that transaction zone, there is no flow. So there has to be a contribution coming into it. So when we look at the creation of the free plasma, we see that the one star formation has its transaction zone and the other star formation has a transaction zone. And despite what each individual point on each star formation is, whether it's magnetic or gravitational, each star is magnetical. And the interaction, the gravitational connection is the transaction zone. So not only does that create gold, but it creates copper, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And these are all aspects of the creation of life. So if you can create an element, you can also create a molecule. And so there you have a structure within a structure. You can't say, well, I will create gold, but I will not create amino acid. Once you start creating things, you create everything. And so that is the true essence of what we try to show to the public, the susceptibility and duality. Each star formation is magnetical. And each point on the star formation is magnetical. And each field on each magnetical point creates a plasma field. And the cumulative effect of all of these plasma fields creates a gravitational transaction zone. So the fact that they were all together in the proper relationship, we were able to create the Gans of gold. So getting back to the 603rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop, we not only see the infinity loop of the interaction of the soul with the soul of physicality, but the interaction of the soul of physicality with the physicality. So there's a path link, there's a crossover. It's like an infinity loop. But there's a vertical alignment. And that causes an inertia field emission because now you have a complete field of 3 dimensions. And from there, that leads to the inertia threshold crossing. So either it can depart or it can remain. But it has to have a relationship with the neighbors, with its position. And how much do you take into account? Do you just take into account the neighbor on the left or the neighbor on the right? You go and you watch a parade. Everybody lines the street. Wherever you're positioned to watch, you have a relationship with that person on the left and that person on the right. But what about the rest of the people watching the parade? Don't you have a relationship with them? So you only take into account your nearest neighbor because you don't want to get an elbow in your ribs, but you have to take into account everything. And we don't have the skill set to do that. So we delegate that to our unconsciousness because our unconsciousness is guided by our soul. So our soul is doing the feeding. So why are we so preoccupied on our feeding? Because when we're talking about the fragments of the complexity, each part of the matter state is a GANS. And each GANS is an inertia of another GANS. And then the show continues. And there are overlapping fields. So there's a nearness and proximity to certain fields, and then there's an overlapping of certain fields. And in each case, there has to be a magnetical gravitational relationship. So each of these fields is coming together of a matter state. And that matter state consists of matter, dark matter, and antimatter. And when we're talking about the GANs, we're talking about the intermediate state, which is the transition state between the plasma state and the physical state. But the GANs itself does have a physical affinity. And so we saw the old gold rush, which we talked about. So we talked about the three magnetical gravitational relationships in the star formation. And we had the overlapping fields, and we created this nano monatomic gold. But this gold was not very shiny. In fact, it was quite black. So we were able to create a GANS of a GANS. And as we said, we have to take into account not just the physicality, but the emotional aspect. Because the cup of emotion is a GANS of a GANS. And the cup of physicality is the manifestation in physicality of the GANS of the GANS. And then, of course, there's the true intention, the GANS of the soul. The non-lying soul. The true intention displayed in its cup of emotion. And we have the capability of creating the true, pure cup of physicality this way, by connecting to the energy of the universe. So we have to understand this concept of the counterweight between our physicality, which is arranging from the carbon-12, carbon-14, and the carbon-16, and the substructure that balances it off. And take that balancing substructure to understand that it too has to be balanced off. So each one is an inertia field, and the two inertia fields have to come together. And so this is how the plasma is created. So the plasma energy is coming together, and then no two plasmas are the same. But when there's an affinity to come together, then we see the creation of the magnetical gravitational connection. That connection is coming to us through the cosmic rays. And that connection carries information. So we now see that the cosmic rays are a leap into the future of communication. So literally, the gold rush isn't for the gold, but the gold rush is to create this dimension point, which creates a transaction zone. And within that transaction zone, we have the choice and the opportunity to dictate what it is that we want to create. And so we have to become very careful. What is the magnetical intention? What's the gravitational intention? How these two come together in the transaction zone to create this dimension point. And fortunately for us, Earth has decided to have the gravitational tracking manifest into oxygen. And the oxygen, although it's non-visible, has a light spectrum. And so that light spectrum is crossing the threshold into this gravitational conformation. So because it's non-visible, we say, well, oxygen is a non-visible gas, and the gas is in its physical state. But when you have a GANS, which is gas as a nanosolid, it's no longer just physical, but it is physical in a higher energy state. And if that higher energy state is only a transition state, then there must have been a transmutation state. And the oxygen would have been part of that as well. And so the arrival of the oxygen, which is fundamental to life on this planet, arrived due to the fact that the Earth space is one of the most gravitational planets in our solar system. So when you have a gold finger, you can think in terms of susceptibility and singularity. But if you're looking for the gravitational completion, you may need two fingers so that you have the susceptibility and duality. How did we take that gold Gans and turn it into gold? We had the external input of the Gans field of humanity. Hello! The gravitational completion. This was not the Midas touch. This was the reality, the completion, the supplementation. And this is what we have been doing. We are supplementing our existence due to consumption. And that consumption is based on an acquired knowledge. It's a conditional teaching by ancient teachers. It causes us to ignore the unconditional teaching by the Creator. So we're running at 20% below optimum. So now we have a new awareness. We have to have this historical threshold between cosmic ray feeding and loosh harvesting. So we see the gold Gans, but it doesn't become the gold until we invest our emotion into it. And so our blood pressure rises and we become quite emotionally attached and we get gold fever. But we're headed into uncharted territory. And like a school of fish, we're the herd at the turning point. There are many stars beyond the nanomonatomic state. And so there's a full range that goes from decay to radiation. So the gold Gans is one of those stages. The manifestation of the gold is another range, is another manifestation. But all of this comes from AI, that ancestral intelligence, where we are the technology, we are the inertia product, we are the image of our dimensional convergence point. And so understanding the plasma science is to understand energy state transition. Energy has a portability. We call it elevation when we go from the physical matter state to the energy state. But we call it inertia when we go from the energy state to the physical matter state. So the reference to elevation involves expansion. And that's what happens when we go from the nano state to the Gans state, or when we go from the pico state to the Gans state, or when we go from the Gans state to the star state, or then we go to the peace dome reactor. So there you can have a shielding, shield us from the harmful effects of the universe. That's a dimension point. Or we have the star position of wherever we are, and that's a dimension point. Or we can have the harvesting of the gold and other things. That's a possession, another dimension point. But they all come from the dynamic soul initiator. And so there's no translation needed. We all communicate in the same language, be it the soul of the Creator, the soul of the earth, the soul of the family of humanity, the soul of the man, the soul of the body, and even the soul of the cells, because all are treated equally, not some than others. It's not Tuesdays for kidneys and Fridays for the pancreas. I'm sorry, Kneecap, you'll have to wait till the following week. The soul food comes from the universe, and the universe delivers cosmic rays. We have to tune into it. So when we plug into the creator, we turn on to that energy and drop out of our resistance. That's what we need to do so we can receive that inertia point. That inertia point is key because that point is made with a pattern and you provide that pattern. So depending on that nature, you get the energy. So you are the creator in that regard. So for 619 Knowledge Seekers workshops over 11 years, we've been seeking the greater oneness and teaching to the world to suddenly transcend the limitations of the nuclear science, the relegations of the nuclear science and its harmful effects by the plasma science, because the plasma science is the benevolent teaching of the universe. And so May the 10th, we demonstrated how we can turn the diamonds of nanocoating to gold. And that becomes the Gans affinity of truth. So our research teams are gathering to advance the science to bring peace and prosperity to this planet, because we have to have a rescue. Our beds are burning. It's hard to sleep. We need a scientific, financial, political, and preservation rescue to understand the concept of consumption and how it relates to creation, and where we haven't been really taking advantage of the technology that was given to us originally. So we have to open the blinds, one nation network at a time. And that time is now, because we've activated the network. Because our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We want to bring man as equal to all the beings in the universe by teaching the plasma science and technology equally to everyone, that no one is left out and no one is abused due to the lack of knowledge. So help us achieve this goal. It isn't my goal. It isn't your goal. It is our goal as one planet, one nation, one race. That's where the World Peace Treaty becomes so important. This is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, welcoming all the beautiful knowledge seekers, all the carbon nations, learning about the new selection process of the new organic plasma science. There's a World Peace Treaty. We have to choose it. We have to sign it unconditionally and mean it sincerely. Because the point of true GANS tech is to cross these polyatomic boundaries. We have these overlapping fields of Earth space, and they create ultimately the peace zone. Is the inertia of the present governed by dimensions of history, or is it time to learn the history of self in a universal context? The GANS is a peaceful superconductor focusing on true intentions, and the gold GANS is an emotional rush that is ranging the strengths of the matter, the plasma, and the universal states. So plasma science needs to continue to be delivered daily via the Peace Dome in a practical exchange for peace on Earth. So welcome to the new golden outer space age. Thank you all for allowing me to present. I hope you enjoyed the session.
Okay, Alex, thank you for sharing more and more. It does seem like there's a lot of growth yet to happen. I don't think we're just at the beginning, of course, and much, much more to come. Many exciting developments we'll see, again, beyond the imagination of humanity. We're seeing it now with the One Nation Network, that it can provide such a grid of elevation and enlightenment. But a lot of balancing still needs to take place. Let's see if any of our participants have a question or a comment or require some further explanation on a point you brought up. Anyone? So this is the gold rush, but it seems like it's also a gold rush of enlightenment. I think this is where we're all kind of focusing, not so much on the matter state gold. As he said, we're not here to make gold, but certainly it has huge ramifications for the space program as well. But hopefully we all become enlightened. This is my idea, to reach that gold of enlightenment, not so much in the matter state, or understanding both more fully. Anyone have a question they'd like to raise?
Mark, I want to thank everybody for allowing me to continue to present. We do have a, shall we say, a goal in this knowledge teaching, and that is to recognize the fact that plasma science is the substructure of our existence. And the more and more that we lean on that knowledge, the better the quality of our life will be. And that's our overall goal. And so we cannot enjoy our life if our neighbors are suffering. So it's all or none kind of thing. Back to you, sir.
I'm with you. Okay, if there's no further comments or questions, I'll just bring up again to apply these teachings, or again, congratulations or happy birthday to our souls, as we received a new beginning, I guess, in enlightenment in so many ways, but that process will grow. The seed is sort of just starting in a way, but it's for you to apply it and create that dome of protection and peace around yourself, as easy as thinking, speaking, and acting good. It's a huge shielding. Maybe 3i will give us more insight on this. And then, of course, if you can, oops, I didn't share the screen, did I? We'll just share the screen here. Thank you, Alex, again. And again, if you start to apply these things, I think you'll be more satisfied with your existence, whatever that may be. And you'll be proud of the work you do and the person you are and the difference you make by serving the others in a way. And in that process, you're serving and feeding yourself and bringing enlightenment. We never thought giving had such a ramification or a feedback to ourselves, as he said in the 23rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Don't worry that you, by giving, you may lose something. You actually become nourished through this whole process. But we haven't understood it, again, the way we're starting to understand it, I think. So enjoy the gift of the three wise men. This is the time. And of course, we'll have more celebrations on Mitra, and we'll see what sort of interactions happen with the 3i. I think Mr. Keshe may be doing some other things in the background with the systems where, again, this 3D dream will become perhaps a reality with the 3i, or interaction with them. We'll have to see and what's reported. But it's certainly well in hand of the foundation, as we saw the materials. And this means we can create any material. I think I was just thinking of all the cotton and everything else that's grown and harvested and fertilized, and all the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it, where we can create pure cotton fibers out of the fields, the same way as gold, and use that in the manufacturing process. And don't worry, there'll be plenty of other things for us to do. If you're a cotton farmer or something else, there'll be much more bigger work as we start to venture into the big city of the universe and start to lose a little bit more of this attraction of this planet, perhaps. But again, I think we can operate in both dimensions simultaneously. And this is the beauty of the gifts that we're starting to understand about ourselves. So thank you all for being here. Apply these gifts. The more and more of us, I think, generate these positive fields or plasmas just by thinking, speaking, and acting good. So I'm going to play the final disclaimer. Thank you all again for being here. have an amazing rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you in one of the next meetings. Actually, tomorrow is a public testimonial meeting starting at 8 p.m. in the public Zoom room, the 939-474-503. And you can share or just be there to hear the others share of some of their perhaps experiences. And I know as this updated UBISO comes into realization, we certainly, hopefully, and that was my wish a couple of years ago, that we'd start to hear more and more of testimonials, again, that are beyond our imagination or how these things can actually come together, but they are. So thank you all. As Mr. Keshe said, it's not one anymore, it's all of us. And thank you for carrying a very small piece of a very large carpet of peace. This carpet's extending across the universe. I can hardly get my mind around the ramifications of what's happening on this planet. But as time goes on, more and more is being revealed in this as we start to work with and join with the larger family. So thank you all for contributing and keeping the Keshe Foundation free for humanity and allowing it to develop and perfect its systems without any outside interference. So we have a very, very bright future, probably brighter than we can imagine. But we thank the foundation and all those who've worked on the team and in the background. We haven't even known what they've done and what they've worked through and some of the sacrifices they've made. So when you're giving, also give to the foundation and to the team working in the background. Or there could be multiple teams, as Mr. Keshe has a very curious way of working in so many ways. So thank you all for being here. Again, you haven't chosen to be here. Your soul has actually chosen you to be here. So that's another beautiful concept and idea that this is really a game of the souls and not so much the physicality. Thank you again, Alex, for sharing in depth some of these concepts I can't fully follow. Again, as we master the energy dimension, some of these other things will apparently fall into place rather nicely in the coming time. So thank you all. I'm going to play the final disclaimer and the session will end. Any other thoughts, comments, requests, issues you'd like to address at this point? Or questions, again, for Alex? All right. Thank you again, everyone. As we're finding out, we are one soul working together, independent, but yet working in a collaborative manner. And that's part of working in the universe, where the plasmas accommodate one another and have respect for one another, regardless. Many, many things I just sense are about to continue to open up more and more for all of us. So thank you. And happy birthday, daughter of Mitra. And happy birthday to all of our souls.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.